New setup.
New setup. We're trying it out. We're going to see if this works out.
It feels good.
It does feel pretty good. I'm glad that we took Jordan's advice.
Thank you, Jordan.
And my mom's advice.
Thank you, Mom.
My mom was immediately like, "What the hell are you guys doing? Like, why are you looking at the camera, you dumbasses?" Like, basically, is what she said. I was like, "All right, Mom." And she didn't even look at anything.
Love you, Mom.
She didn't even watch a second of the video before she's just like, she's like, what are you doing? You know? I'm like, okay, all right, Mom.
In us improving everything, that's one of the best things we could do. You know, this is easy stuff.
Yeah.
Here down the line, like 6 or 7 videos from now, we're gonna be like, dude, what is going on? We need to fix this. What is it? I don't know.
Yeah, right. That's where the fun begins. So let's do it. So we'll go ahead and do the start of the video. We'll kind of do the lead in.
Mm-hmm. I think
every single start of the video. I'll do the lead in this time. I won't flip for it.
Okay.
Because I know how I want to enter into this video, but but I'll let you do.
I'll do the intro. Okay.
Yeah, the other one.
That sounds good.
We'll let you do Thunderbolts.
Wait. So I'll be like.
So you can do the lead in to Thunderbolts too. I'm talking about like you should just do the lead in for the movie, if you feel comfortable doing it. Be like, yeah, it's Max Matinee. Today we're going to be reviewing Thunderbolts, and then you just say Thunderbolts is this. Unless you want me to just say it.
We'll get this down
It's
eventually.
up to you because
Let's just do the flip.
Because I have all the stuff.
Let's just do the flip.
Okay.
Let's let the universe decide.
I can do it. I can do both.
You can do both.
But I'll let you. I'll let you do the first thoughts of the movie.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I'll just say like, hey, this is the movie reviewing.
We'll get this down, Pat.
It's
Eventually,
a Jack Schreier movie. It's a first movie he's directed in 10 years. What do you think about this?
See, that's the problem. Like, I don't know as much as the background.
I don't know. There's not much background on this guy.
So.
I mean, the guy's done more music videos for like Kendrick and Kanye than he has done movies. I mean, for real.
Wow. Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you're not really missing out on anything because he doesn't have really any major.
Changes
movies.
My review. Okay, let's do this
and
thing.
Chance the Rapper.
Let's do this thing.
You know.
Are you ready?
So yes.
Ready for the countdown?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Matt and Mike's Matinee. I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
And today we're going to talk about the craziest fever dream I've ever seen. Hundreds of beavers.
And craziest fever dream Mike's ever seen, but just another day at the movies for Matt.
So that's
not 100% true, but
but still, there's a running thing that Matt has Matt movies,
mm-hmm.
and those movies have been known throughout his friends to rock their world. And the other day, my world has been rocked by hundreds of beavers.
Yeah, I'll never forget. So we kind of. Okay, there was kind of a lead up to this movie, and I didn't really tell Mike what movie we're watching. All I said, I didn't want to even give Mike the name of the movie, and you can probably understand why that is.
Absolutely.
Because if you know the name of the movie, you can look up things about it, and even looking up an image of the movie is not something I wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Because I wanted you to have maximum whiplash for this movie.
There was a lot of whiplash. Yeah. My brain is still spinning from it.
Yeah, it's really funny. The first thing we happened, we were watching it on Amazon streaming, and
mm-hmm.
we get over to the movie that we're watching, and Mike looks over and is like, "Are you pulling my leg? Are you serious? Are we actually doing this? You're joking."
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, this is the movie we are going to watch." And you're like, "Oh no!"
And
great.
then I went like tick 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 to the roller coaster chair, and then we went right up in the air, bro.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
There was one point where I was like, "There's 2 hours of this."
Yeah.
There's 2 hours of this. And then I fell into it and started getting immersed and was really interested.
Yeah.
Okay, hundreds of beavers.
Yeah. So this is a movie by the director Mike Cheslick, and
mm-hmm.
it's a collaboration between him and the main actor, whose name is Rylan Tews, and he plays this character called Gene Kayak, who's an Applejack maker. Basically, this is old apple-flavored alcoholic.
Well, it could be a cider or a beer
cider that they used to make back in the day. Mm-hmm. And the movie is about, first off, it is a black and white kind of silent film.
Yeah. Which is really surprising. I have not seen anything like this ever in my life. Now, I watched like one of those old movies, one of those very first movies where it's like the moon and stuff like that, and it was...
Yeah, Trip to the Moon.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that. And so that was kind of like a silent film that I've seen. but nothing that did as many things as this did.
Yeah. It's only silent in that there's not very much traditional dialogue at all. Nope. There's grunts. There's some stuff like that, but there's not really a lot. There's not like talking.
Well, there is a joke later on, like towards the later half of the movie, that they kind of make.
Well, they kind of do the old like silent movies. So like in old films like Metropolis or things like that, characters would sometimes speak, but they would speak through like text boxes that would come on the screen.
Correct.
And so the movie does that
for most of it.
Yeah. So, but. The movie was obviously inspired by those movies. Specifically, I think the physical comedy movies of the past. Like, this is very much influenced by
Looney Tunes,
Charlie Chaplin movies, Three Stooges, Buster Keaton. But, when I was doing a little bit of research in the movie, and we kind of picked this up as well, we were like, this has a really big, like, video game kind of feel, too.
There was. There was a slight video game feel.
And it basically confirmed it because they were watching a bunch of video game like Let's Plays.
Oh wow!
And that kind of I think informed it because it really does feel like it's there was little elements of like Donkey Kong Country in there, some point and click adventures like the old like Siberia, Grim Fandango. There's a bunch of, but at the same time there's also like some Castlevania, some Zelda. It's really interesting. Like it's like kind of like a gamification of film.
Yeah,
project, which is kind of weird. It's kind of makes a really interesting viewing experience.
Yeah, there's like a whole point system to it, and then there's like a reward for those points, and then you don't even really know what the goal is until like halfway in the movie.
Right. So we'll kind of give you the baseline of what's kind of going on. So he is an Applejack maker. He has an Applejack farm. It opens up with him singing this song.
So we're going to spoilers?
Not spoilers. This is just the setup. But basically, that happens, and this is just the premise. But basically, his Applejack farm is ruined, and he basically is stuck without food in the winter.
By the way, that opening song was. It just threw you off the edge.
Yeah.
Right at the very beginning. It's a great, catchy little song, but you're wondering.
And then that's when you start seeing the video audio, like the editing, which is just incredible editing.
Yes, absolutely
funny.
Stunning.
Every second of this movie is
it's giving you something every single scene.
Yeah. So he's essentially trying to survive the winter by getting food. Like he's trying to hunt down rabbits and to eat, and then eventually some other developments happen in the plot where he then is dealing with wolves, he's dealing with beavers, he's dealing with a bunch of different things, and the
skunks.
The best thing about this film was a decision to have all of the animals that he is hunting down played by people in giant animal like outfits.
It was so wild, dude.
Yeah. What was going through your mind when the first bunny like showed up on screen?
I was like, "Is this a joke?" 100%.
Well, it wasn't. It is a joke.
Like, so the slapstick comedy and the whole like 40s, 50s animation at the very beginning was already surprising.
Yeah.
And then whenever the first bunny hops onto screen, it was almost like, how do I take this seriously? Like how do I get through another hour and 45 minutes of this movie and take this seriously?
And how you do that, you succumb to the movie.
Which is what I did. I finally
you
fell
get on its wavelength though.
into it until the horse scene.
Which I know you love. So why don't you just like before we get into the spoiler kind of discussion, we just kind of go freeball it. How'd you feel about it? I mean, we're kind of talking a little bit about lead in, but yeah, just give me your thoughts on it.
After digesting it, I was really happy that you've shown it to me. The movie was so off the wall and so different that I'm gonna be thinking about it going forward in my whole reviewing process. Because they tried so many different things and went so many different ways and made me feel like I was young watching an old Looney Tunes cartoon, and how exaggerated the characters were, how fun the plot just twisted and angled. I enjoyed myself, and I really, my score was a 7.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a 7 because it will last with me. And it was something that I could show to someone who's into film, but I couldn't show it to everybody.
Yeah.
That's not a movie for someone who is into more now action-y, music-y, colored videos.
Cinema. I think you also have to have a taste for just absurdism.
Yes.
Your sense of humor you just have to enjoy madcap style comedy
and random things happening every time.
But with a logic to it, and I think that's what separates it from just being just a collection of aimless YouTube shorts. Is that there's such a progress and logic to the jokes in the movie, and any time that you're kind of get to a point where you're like, I think they're kind of like spreading this joke a little too thin, you realize that they're like silently doing a setup like for world building for a massive joke later down the line, which is it's crazy how
everything in this movie builds upon itself. And then you're like, man, they finally finished it. They landed that joke. And they keep going.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
Yeah. So I loved the movie a lot. Cool. I actually bought the movie.
Wow.
So I ordered it from a website that kind of does special releases.
Because you're really big into physical media.
Yeah, and I bought it. So because this is the movie that if an 8 out of 10 is the sort of movies that I think are great on a technical level, but like 9s would be the ones that I truly love, then this movie would be there. So
which one?
It's a 9.
A 9.
It's a strong 9.
Cool.
So because I think it's an amazing movie. I mean, it's hard 9. There's not even a question about it. So because there's very few times I've seen a movie that is as creative for 2 hours. It is almost a masterclass in unorthodox world building, interesting pacing, cyclical jokes that build on themselves. The physical comedy is surprisingly how funny it is. You think that after a while, after all these characters slipping and sliding through the ice,
you get bored of it.
You get bored, but it's funny. You're 2 hours in, and one of the characters is leaving the scene, slips on the ice, and lands on his face, and you're still laughing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense that it works so well. In that
it's
way.
Because of timing.
It's timing.
It's 100%. Yeah. They have the timing down perfectly. Him falling through the holes. He did so much at the beginning, and then they stop for a little bit, and then you're like,
and then
there's no possible way he's gonna fall
one more time, an hour and 30 minutes later in the movie. Yeah, it's so wild, and then it's just so creative that I can't pretend like this is just in the realm of normal movies, and I gotta go to bat for this, movie. And this is. I'm going to be showing this to people, period. And it's going to stay in my collection. And anything that I buy personally to rewatch is in that tier.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people on our Discord who are like, what movie is it? What movie is it? And we still haven't told them
No,
yet.
we haven't, no.
We don't even know. I mean, are you going to show it to them before we do the review?
I'm going to show it to my family first.
Okay,
yeah, because I know my dad is going to really like it. I know actually my whole family's going to like it. The only person I don't know about is my mom. My mom does like humor, and she loves those old silent movies. She likes Looney Tunes. But I will say Hundreds of Beavers is almost stupider than even the dumbest Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes shorts and stuff.
There's some really dumb Looney Tunes
shorts.
I
know. But I mean this is rough. It's also a little bit more gross than some of that stuff, I think for some people, I think there's enough bodily fluids kind of jokes in it that
you're right.
We're talking about for my mom. But I don't know. I mean, she could. I mean,
true.
She could surprise me.
I mean, I'm not into body horror or stuff like that either. Yeah. But I think it was the black and white that helped me out with it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. How did you find out about this movie?
Well, I found out about this movie, because it really got a big cult buzz. So there's a lot of film reviewers that I follow that watched it and really, really enjoyed it. So I did kind of hear it through the grapevine through them,
cool.
but I didn't look up very much about it. I basically just saw the guys in the beaver suits, and I saw the guys in the beaver suits, and then I saw like this 2-second clip towards the end of the movie, which I'm not going to get into right now, but it's one of the
Spoilers
scenes
ahead.
where he's sitting, where he's above the beavers, and he's kind of going into their dam.
Oh, okay.
And you know how like weird looking that scene is, and just like how crazy the editing and compositing.
Yeah.
Like I saw that, I was like, no, okay. I gotta watch that, but I was saving it to watch it with a particular person, so I wanted to throw it.
You did. I remember you were like
on somebody who knew absolutely nothing about it, just to see.
You were like it was a while ago. It was probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. You said, "Hey, I got a movie. I don't want to tell you anything about it, but it'll be a random watch night." Mm-hmm. I'm so thankful for it. I'm very thankful.
I got a lot more of in store for you, so
let's
hope
do
you're
this,
ready
man.
for it.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, are you ready for the spoilers?
Yeah, I think I am. Unless there's, I think we basically covered our baseline thoughts on it.
So let's dive into the fever dream.
It's true.
That is Hundreds of Beavers.
Yes, and please leave now unless you want to be spoiled.
Please go see the movie. We recommend it. We gave it pretty high marks.
Yep.
It's definitely a Matt-esque movie. But be warned, spoilers ahead.
Yeah. So I have to ask. So I think that you giving it a 7 makes a lot of sense based on what you're doing. I was kind of thinking you would go 8.
Really?
I was kind of thinking you would go 8 because I know that because you were like so surprised by it.
I really
was. And you were like so, eventually, I mean, just like laughing hysterically by the end of the movie. You know, that I thought it might have got you, but like I still am happy with a 7. But
I thought you were going to give it an 8 also. I don't know.
I mean, this is like the best. This is my favorite movie we've watched so far for Max Matinee, and it's not close. No, I mean, Sinner's the best movie of the year. This is a little bit older. But this is not too much older. It's only a couple of years, older. But
it's still one of our reviews.
So if we're gonna talk about like just the reason why it's like a 9, so we didn't talk about this in the non-spoiler section, which I feel like we should have.
Yeah.
But if I was gonna say there was one criticism with the movie, it's that since the movie is so long, there are some lulls in it. And we said that the jokes kind of like, because even there was a point where I remember you were sitting there and you were just like, this is becoming arduous.
Yes.
Is what you said. And then like immediately it flipped. It flipped
on
did. You. And but I feel that way too.
They knew what they were doing.
And I think it's just because there's so the joke density and the visual gag density is so thick that I think that you're just almost like it's a point where you become fatigued. And I think
there's definitely a fatigue point in this.
And I think that because of that, I can't give it a 10 because there was a couple points where I even was like, oh man, and then but then
you never gave off on that when you were watching it.
But it like immediately when you start feeling that way, where you feel like maybe the movie's going on a little bit too long, or maybe there's maybe a couple scenes could be cut a little shorter, or maybe it ropes back, and then you realize, like you said, that those scenes are very integral to the really big jokes that are coming down the pipeline. So it makes sense. So I guess I can't really, it's enough to make me say it's not a perfect movie, so I can't say it's a 10, but it's definitely not enough of a problem for me to knock it down any more than that, for me.
Maybe that's why I felt a lot more shocked afterwards, is because the movie does start off with like simple and then builds and builds and builds, and then it arcs so much like that when I was done with it, I had to shut off for a minute.
Yeah.
So I can 100% agree with you that there was a couple of fatigue points, but what made me enjoy it was that they knew that they were being a little bit too much, and then they fixed it, and they fixed it really well.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we kind of break it down a little bit into like what's going on a little bit more in detail. So the main character is essentially doing everything that as far as like at first it's survival. So he's learning just the and not only the rules of the world, but the mechanics of the world too, because he follows very strict rules. But eventually he realizes, through his adventures through this frozen tundra, that he finds a trapper and a furrier.
Which was a surprise.
Yeah.
And they knew he looked like Santa. Yeah. And they played on the joke that he looked like Santa.
Yeah, he's the master. He's the master trapper. And then there's the guy who owns the shop, right?
So
he finds 3 characters. So he ends up falling in love with the furrier, but he realizes that he doesn't have anything. But the shopkeeper sells a bunch of goods, but you have to turn in coins to buy the goods. In order to get the coins, you have to have certain types of pelts from the creatures in the world. So it might be you have to get 2 rabbit pelts to get. 2 rabbit pelts equals 2 coins. You can turn 2 coins into a pipe, that sort of thing. And then maybe a wolf pelt and 2 beaver pelts will be a gun. And so there's a progression to the movie where you're kind of following him, learning tricks of the trade from the trapper,
who was offered the ring for his daughter.
The shopkeeper's daughter's hands in marriage, the furrier. But he basically learns from the master trapper how to hunt, how to catch things, and he basically gets finds they have this map of the pelt line, which is a really complicated. And but eventually the main pelt guy ends up dying, and our main hero ends up becoming the new master trapper, and he makes his own pelt line, which he just erases. He just erases
which is so funny because it's so simple what he draws.
Yeah, what
he draws.
He just draws a circle of all the locations as it builds, as he builds and builds and builds, and he ends up in a most progression kind of way, getting going around in circles around his map that he's made. Learning different mechanics, and then trading in for different tools, which he then goes back and then he circles it back into this line. And I think that's such a weird way of shooting, because I really didn't think it would stick to its gun so much and really stick to that cycle, but it really does. I mean, he goes around that pelt line map that he makes multiple times. And it kind of makes it have this rhythm that's really...
You have to think, though, he is a simple
really nice.
character.
Yeah.
He's a simple-minded guy. There's nothing super-duper fascinating about him, except for the fact that he's different.
Yeah.
And he thinks different, and he's a little simple. But so when his traps that just get more and more complicated, more wild, like the one that spun around, and then he threw, what was it, the club.
Yeah, so there's this trap where you have to wind it up. You have to climb up and then wind it up really, really hard. And then it'll stick, the beaver that comes up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he winds it up so fast, he kind of creates this wind turbine kind of effect. And he realizes that he can trap things in between two of them. And so he traps one of the beavers up there, and he throws his club into the wind turbine, and it just kind of it just kind of spins back and forth and beats
bonks on the head, and the beaver's dead, and he can get the pelt.
Yeah,
and it's just those wild contraptions that he just comes up with, and they actually work.
Yeah,
make this movie very entertaining,
right?
And make this such a simple character level up, basically.
Yeah. You just seeing from 0 to hero.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting how the movie really takes into consideration every single thing. Every single thing that happens to him, he uses. So there's a scene where he learns about icicles. Icicles falling from trees can create ice walls. So he's that's interesting. And then he realizes if he sneezes, he creates an icicle. And then he's I can create my own ice walls with my own sneezing. And eventually later he gets so busted where eventually I think the end of the movie feels like one of those what 1,000 hours of Elden Ring looks like playthrough videos is what it feels like at the end of the movie, where he sneezes.
Let me solo her.
He makes an ice sickle out of his sneeze, and he breaks the icicle off and turns around and makes it into a telescope,
a spyglass.
A spyglass. Yeah. The amount of thought that went into every little tiny bit of the movie is why I think it's so special. Why I like it so much. But what are some of your favorite gags? What are some of your favorite moments and gags in the movie?
One of my favorite scenes, right, that was shot was when he was climbing up the tree while the wolves were chasing after him.
Yeah.
The way that it was angled, right? You could tell it was just plainly a tree that was laid down flat, and they were just moving up the same little spot the whole time. But then they angled it to make it look like it was going up. And then they put animated trees beside it to make it look like even more and sold it to you.
Yeah.
The perspective was so good in that.
Mm-hmm.
So good. One of my favorite gags, right, the jokes, had to have been him falling into the holes.
Yeah, because it was basically we learned the rabbits can travel like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
But like But you could travel really quick. You could travel almost instantaneously.
It's like
through a rabbit hole. Yeah, rolls when they're made. And so like he's walking, and then there's a lot of times where he just goes, oh,
yeah,
he just appears. It's
standing there. Yeah,
very Monty Python.
They feed
very
it to you.
Monty Python. The sound effects, the way it looks, he just
They feed it to you in such little nibbles at the first part that it's just like every time he's just okay. You're like, this is the end of the scene, and he's like, whoa, and he doesn't know what they are until later on.
Yeah, it's so funny. One of my favorite scenes is, I love those. One of my favorites is, so he finds like a frozen lake, and he gets like, he realizes that going across the frozen lake is really tough. He gets stuck, and he gets stuck out there, and he can't move, and he realizes he has to like sacrifice his pack. He has to push it in like almost like in a space kind of way, like
he pushes it, and the momentum pushes both of them.
Yeah, and it gets stuck, but he decides to catch some beavers, like trapping them out there. So he ends up like through various means, like getting a bunch of them out there on the lake, and they're all kind of like slipping around and falling, and the beavers are just have steadied themselves, and they just start to push each other. Two beavers just start to push each other, and then a tree comes out of the scene frame and just smashes them, and it's so funny because because that's how he ends up killing most of them early on before he has a weapon. He basically gets an axe, and he just like for a while he's just cutting down trees to make them fall down and hit the beavers to and it.
I got another gag that really was nice when he did the whistle.
Yeah.
Every single time, and the woodpecker
comes
would come in because he would get so close to finally getting food, and he'd be like, but it wouldn't be a it'd be like, and then all of a sudden the woodpecker would come and root it all up, but he learns from those experiences,
right? And then he uses that later in some of his like
his traps,
and it's brilliant. It's really funny. My favorite scene. There's a lot of great scenes. Every scene is just a series of extremely funny visuals and extremely funny gags. The fist fight scene at the end with all the beavers in the dam. That sequence is really funny. There's a great scene where he like uppercuts one of them, and like the head comes off of it, but it's just replaced a little human skeleton.
It's just a little skeleton head, and there was fluff everywhere. It wasn't even like bloody or gory or anything.
I know.
I absolutely loved the horse. Anytime the horse was in scene, was fantastic.
So there's a Native American trapper that he ends up doing a bunch of trading with, and he has a horse, which is just two men in a horse outfit.
Two men in a horse outfit, and you could plainly see the guy's face.
Unlike most other animals,
And so the Native American is like petting the face of the guy, and he's trying to be so deadpan. It absolutely floored me. I was on the ground.
I know. It's really funny, and I'll never forget. We have to tell this story for the people at listening in with your roommate that came in.
Yes.
So we watched shows and
shout out
TVs
to Raf.
and movies for with a friend of ours, and the last show we were watching with him has a bunch of really gross.
What's the name of the movie? What's the name of the show?
It's Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's
Reign has a bunch of stuff that really grosses Raph out specifically, involving eating things.
Yes. And if you've ever seen the show, it's great.
So Raph comes in during probably the only time there's like a gross scene only gross is specifically relating around eating things in the entire movie, which involves him trying to eat maggots because he's like and he walks in and he's like, oh, do you guys watching? What's wrong with you two?
It was the worst scene he could have seen in the whole thing. If he would have seen anything else, if it would have been 5 minutes later or 5 minutes earlier, it would have been a completely different reaction.
It's really funny though, because like the little maggots are like they're very much like
finger puppets.
Like finger puppets. They're very. They look very like Fraggle Rock Muppets style. And so
just like the fish.
Yeah, just like the fish. But like when he eats it, it just becomes like this like gushy, like I mean like so over the top, disgusting. And it's
kind of like when he did the whole chewing the wood thing to make interesting things like the carrot and stuff like that.
Yeah,
how he would spit blood.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't even as bad as the worm scene, the grub scene. That grub scene was really bad.
No, it's good. I like this. I like a lot of stuff with the snowman and the snow dog and stuff. Too.
Yeah, there was a whole bit there where he's fishing and he makes a snow woman and he makes a snow dog and he throws a snow bone for the dog to go get. And he's like, "Go get it, go get it." But it's a snow dog. It doesn't move anywhere.
Well, the thing is though, we do know that like they might have a tiny bit of autonomy because like the camera will cut away and they'll cut back and like it'll be slightly different. Yeah. So,
but how do we know that wasn't our main character?
It could be the main character, right?
Changing it in between scenes.
I know it's really funny. And then the end of the movie.
So everything was climaxing to this point. They're building their dam. And it's getting bigger and bigger, and I feel like they forgot about that, to be honest. And they're like, wait, we have a whole other story to tell. Yeah. Let's go ahead and send him in there.
Yeah. Well, it's like what's hinting at it. The whole movie, he walks past the dam that's being built, and it is getting bigger and bigger the whole time.
Yeah, and it's getting wilder and wilder.
But it's just always in the background, And so he eventually gets in there because in order to end up getting the trapper's daughter's hand in marriage, he's gonna have to bring back hundreds of beavers, which we gotta talk about that. Like, so this movie waits until like the near like 3/4 mark to like drop the title of the movie, which is really funny.
It was perfect though, because the trader said basically you're gonna have to bring me hundreds of beavers.
Yeah. And what's really funny is like there's a visual where everything at the shopkeeper is selling is on like this big board, and we're talking about earlier with like you got to turn this stuff in for the guns. Well, there's a diamond ring there, and then so there's a diamond ring equals, and then there's a bunch of beaver faces, and then the sign's been extended,
after
out forever
after the trader solidifies how much it would be. It's so good.
It's really funny. So he ends up going. Well, he ends up getting brought there. Against his will originally by Beaver Sherlock Holmes and Beaver Watson, who were running around investigating all of the murders that the trapper's doing.
And they come up with the wildest reasons.
And there's a really funny court case there where they basically go through all of like the motions of a TV like court case procedure, like Law and Order, but without any real dialogue.
Yeah, they're
but even
yeah,
I know. And the visuals, like the evidence reels are really funny.
It just gets worse and worse and worse.
And then his defense attorney being like the worst defense attorney ever, and him just being so unsure of himself.
But the real defense attorney died.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's really good. It's really funny, and of course they ordered him to be executed, and that leads to the fight. But
he tries to escape.
He does escape, and we realize like what the beavers are doing, and the beavers are using the Applejack alcohol to basically fuel a rocket ship.
The Beaver space program.
Yeah. Which is crazy because there's no hint of like anything like any technology or anything like science, like futuristic or sci-fi or anything in the movie up to that point. So I remember you watching. You were just like, "What are we watching?"
Yeah.
as if the rest of everything you've seen wasn't ridiculous, and you were just. But that was
worse. It just gets crazier and crazier. Yeah. And like when it gets into the dam and period, like all the like awesome animation and the way that they filmed the angles of their like gags and stuff was very impressive. And the fact that it was just made by a handful of people makes it even more impressive because it looks just like something you would see back in the day from Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it even has like and it does a lot of the it's so many of the gags are just incredible,
on point.
The timing is funny. Even the no matter what they're doing, if it's like the speed is really interesting because they can slow things down. It's really funny, and they can speed things up. Like when he's like riding on the logs. So there's a scene on there's all these like logs that are going down all these like water pipes basically, and that reminded me very much of Donkey Kong Country. I kind of described it being very similar to like the scenes on the mine carts. But there's a whole chase is like so quick, so fast, and so funny where he's like there's other beavers riding logs, and then there's the classic gag where he's like riding the log and he gets split by a saw, and he ends up
doing the splits,
and there's all that. But
and then he looks over at the other one who went before him, and he got split completely in half.
Yeah,
the beaver did.
Yeah.
He's like, oh.
But
so that leads up to the Beaver space program.
Yeah, right.
Which after that. They gave up everything and just threw in everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, I know. And it ends with like this absolutely insane chase scene where he ends up foiling their space program. He ends up, and they get really mad and they all just chase him out of the dam. All of them are, and then there's a great scene where it starts off on all these like these floating ice like plateaus in the water, and he just flows down. And there's one really funny one where like all of the little ice plateaus that the beavers are doing are like based on like different, like one is like a ship and stuff.
Yeah.
And the one that's a ship ends up hitting, and it ends up like hitting like another piece of ice, ends up like dipping into the water, and they all start yelling. It's almost like a Titanic joke, which is really dumb, but it's funny because like you were saying like. What do they have to worry about? They're beavers. They can swim. And then the movie immediately like makes note of that.
It's like the beavers were like, oh yeah, we can swim.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that scene where he's standing on the hill trying to choose his sled, watching them follow in the background, they come up on the hill in perfect timing, as if like when you first see them move in the background to when they reach the top, it's like boom, boom, boom. I was very surprised and happy about that.
And it's really. It's really good.
And then they join and make a Batman ninja mech.
We'll see. So what happens is he has a giant bag of pelts that he was trying to get back because it got confiscated by when it got brought into the beaver trial. But he ends up like pushing the beaver sack down the hill and is turning into a snowball, which is also something a mechanic that's been shown in the movie. And he ends up on top of the snowball, like riding the snowball.
Yeah.
Which is, and then the beavers end up forming this giant beaver mech, and then
they're chasing him,
and it's really good. But this day gets saved. Well, I mean, the spaceship gets stopped by the Native American trapper.
Yes,
who ends up,
that was wild.
Hooking the ship,
100% wild.
And he ends up, which is really funny. But
that face that he makes when after he's spinning it, it was.
It's
hilarious.
It's so funny, the muscles and stuff. So he takes care of the ship, but the mech,
because the mech,
he slings the spaceship into the beaver mech. Is what happens.
The reason why he's mad is because my favorite character in the movie,
the horse, gets squashed. Yeah.
I was so sad.
I know. And it's a funny visual though. Him getting squashed is so funny too.
Because it's very plainly two people.
Yeah.
In a horse
outfit. I know, it's so good. So, but I mean, and then in the end, so the main character does end up getting back, delivering the pelts. He gets the girl, but it doesn't end on a kiss scene.
No, it doesn't.
It ends with the trapper kissing him, which is or the shopkeeper kissing him, which is really funny. But what's cool is like, and then I will say the one thing I want to talk about with the shopkeeper is the running joke with the spit. So after the shopkeeper kisses the main character, he ends up spitting the dip spit out, so he obviously did a little bit of dip swapping there with that kiss.
I didn't even think about that.
Which is I didn't. You know what I mean? Like, ugh.
Yeah.
But and then the main character spits it out and hits the
spittoon.
The dip spittoon.
Yeah.
And there's a running joke the whole movie where the shopkeeper can't hit the spittoon for anything. He always misses, and it gets more and more over the top. But my favorite joke is is part of the way through the movie. The shopkeeper ends up trying to spit in the face of the main character, and then the main character like lifts up the spittoon and lifts it in front of his face, and the dip just like does a 90-degree angle up in the air.
They know what they're doing.
I know,
they knew exactly what they were
doing. Yeah, so
I would like to pick their brains to see if anything that they did any of the jokes were just kind of like, hey, let's just do this.
Yeah.
As spur of the moment type thing. Or if it was all storyboarded and all thought of.
Yeah,
right
it would be
before
cool.
did it.
It'd be really cool. We should do a little bit of research on that a little bit later. But
or if you guys want to reply, and let us know down below.
But I'm really excited for whatever this person does after this.
Absolutely.
So
we'll have to keep an eye on
do
him.
you think? Do you think that, like, I mean, this is the first movie. You know, do you think he's going to top this?
You never know.
Yeah, I hope he does.
You never know.
I'm not. You know,
it could just
this
be a
is a dare
product.
to the director. Top it.
What's his name?
Mike Cheslick.
Mike. Thank you so much for this experience, dude. It was fantastic.
It was incredible. Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Fantastic in the 7.
It was fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed it.
That's good. Right.
I can't show it to everybody.
Give it a 7.5.
No, we don't do points.
7.5.
Are we doing points?
It would be a 7.5, right?
Probably so.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. If we did points,
as long that's good.
But I just can't recommend it to everybody. You know, I cannot.
This is your own rating too. You know, this is how much you liked it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? Don't let others influence that. You know what I mean?
We are doing a review for other people.
We were doing a review, but we're being honest. You know, I mean, like
7.
You know what I mean? Because like for me,
it was a 7.
There's plenty of movies I've given a 10. I would never play other people. You know?
Yeah.
Because 10s are not made for everybody. I don't really. True. I feel like the closer that a movie gets to an artist.
After talking about it, you know what? I'm retconning it. I'm making it an 8.
Yes.
We're doing it an 8.
I'm so happy.
We're making it an 8.
I think I'm really happy. I think it deserves it. Yeah. It's a hell of a movie. And after that much praise and that much we've talked about it, I mean,
I enjoyed myself throughout the whole thing. Yeah. Other than like. After seeing this movie, I will not be asking, what the heck am I watching, if there's anything that's like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I've already got something to compare it to.
Right. Yeah.
Going into it without anything to compare to rocked my world.
This is not the kind of thing you just like that most people will just show up with to in a movie.
You cannot raw dog
it. But I think that, you know, just kind of my earlier point. This is what a movie can be, what an artist is not interfered with.
Absolutely.
When he has complete control, he's able to make something that is like so much the type of movie that he wants to make and he wants to see. We get this. And this isn't for everybody, but I think that
you could feel the passion.
But you feel the passion.
Feel the hard work.
Right. Yeah.
And there's not a single point in it where you ever think that some corporate person said, hey, you need to do it this way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I feel like there are some great movies that are really made to be accessible to everybody as well. Like, don't get me wrong, but I definitely can't. I can't say that, you know, because then no movie that's independent or original or weird would ever be a 10.
You're right.
You know,
you're right.
So
I can see where you come from.
You know, yeah, because it would only be like Forrest Gump and stuff like that. would be against the 10s, and I think that's more. I think you can be like there'd be like pop movies 1 through 10s and weird movies 1 through 10s.
Yeah.
You know, so
which we might dig into. We need to go over that.
Yeah, we do.
So,
but I think that'll do it. I think that's a good review. Mike, what do you think?
It's great. I had a good time, dude.
Yeah, this was fun. This was good.
Awesome.
So you should go see it, and we'll catch you next time for another episode of Mike and Matt's Matinee.
Absolutely. See you guys on the clip side. Thanks for being here. We love you.
We love most of you, except for those of you who don't comment on our videos.
No, don't say that. Because views are views. Still, we still love you.
That's true. Okay.
Thanks for being here.
We love the quiet ones. That was a joke. I really love everybody.
If we're here at this point, if you're here at this point, you're invested. You're dedicated, and this is an ode to you. Thank you.